Hello legends, welcome. I'm back with another of my Learn With Me series, so these are the OverExplained HAVOC 40 runs. In this week's episode, we are on the Magistrati Oubliette map. Just to pause to appreciate how awesome the word oubliette is to say, But we're on the Oubliette map, and we are facing the Encroaching Garden, the Heinous Rituals, and the Inferno modifiers, so we have a triple threat for you here today. Just to briefly cover what these modifiers do, so the Encroaching Garden modifier, essentially certain enemies will be marked by Nurgle, and they're very clearly identified by a purple or a pink indicator, like a visual indicator. These enemies are intensely stagger resistant. In addition, they'll pump out an ungodly amount of healing in a 5-meter radius around them. So whenever we see Encroaching Garden, we essentially know that we need to hard focus down the purple mobs, and also we're going to be facing some tankier waves, regenerating waves. We also have the Heinous Rituals, so what this does is essentially, I think the number in total is 5, so 5 total rituals. Some maps have less, like Draco. But 5 total rituals will spawn in a map. And essentially these are your standard demon hosts with a little bit more spice. So a bunch of cultists will essentially summon this demon host, and how fast they trigger will depend on proximity and if you actually actively aggro or hit the ritual. And yeah, so we need to deal with this. This adds a really, honestly in my mind, quite an interesting tactical element to games, because this is one of the very few Havoc modifiers that materially changes how we want to approach maps. I mean, yes, they're buggy as fuck. I wish they didn't have all the jank associated with them. Some of these rituals will just trigger because, I don't know, someone in another country farted and suddenly, bam, Denise is running around trying to tear your asshole off, right? But I'm just saying, from a thinking about the game in a macro perspective, the Rits adds quite an interesting layer. So whenever we see Rits, we know that we need to pace a certain way, we need to be careful with the triggers, and we need to make sure that we are moving in a tight unit, right? And lastly, we have Inferno. So what Inferno does is essentially just fucking sets the entire world on fire. In addition, expect to see more, and I think there's a different type of flamer, like a mutated flamer that spawns in Inferno maps. Basically, it's just fire all the time. So burn, baby, burn, right? So that's it for the modifiers. Just looking at our team composition here. So we have Zaki on a Shout Vet. He is running a Voice of Command, Smoke Grenades, and the ever-useful Survivalist Aura. We have Galahad, who is running a Burn Psyker. He's the anti-everything guy. He just looks at stuff and turns it to ash, right? Sherm, the old Shermanator, is on a Skitari, running Cord Claw with Arcnades and the delightful and just beautiful Transonic Blades with the Galvanic Rifle. Just looking at Keg's role here, so he's essentially just a damage guy, right? He has the Claw to deal significant burst damage into elites and bosses. He has the Arcnade to absolutely evaporate packs of elites and armor. Essentially, if shit hits the fan, Sherm's the guy we want to be tearing the souls out of people and throwing Arcnades everywhere, right? So the downside to this, so the build he's picked is super offensive and aggressive. What that means is essentially we don't have the utility that another Skitari build could bring. For example, we don't have Medicaid Service Girl. We also don't have Emitter, so our shooter control is going to be less. But that is obviously offset by Zaki here running Smoke Nades. And not that it matters on this map, but we don't have the skull to do scans and stuff like that, hey? And lastly, we have the lovely Pertho. So I'm running an Arby, I'm running Break the Line, because fucking shout out to Foot Knight Krubers out there. It's just an amazing ability, and it's so satisfying to use. Yeah, I'm running Break the Line with a dog, so likely an EO build here. And I'm using the Shock Maul and Suppression Shield because it's yummy and crunchy. Crunch. And I'm running a Bolter to help burst down bosses. Okay, so that's our team comp. This should be quite a spicy one given the map and the mods. As per last time, guys, a loadout section will play, and then I'll jump to the start of the video. Expect some pausing, some stopping, as I explain some moment-to-moment decision-making and like priorities, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, hope you enjoy it. Let's get started.
No, I don't have beard anymore.
Why are you like so fucking pale though, man? No, I take it back, guys. I'm not running EO. I'm running Forceful. So just to clarify the difference between the two. So EO is a more dog-specific, even though it's not a dog-specific, but it's more, should we say, dog-synergistic keystone, where the keystone will mark certain enemies, and if you kill them, you get a shitload of buffs. So it's a really strong one. It's probably Arby's by far. It's not probably. It is by far Arby's strongest keystone, and it's never a bad choice. Guys, I'm just going to turn the in-game volume down just slightly, right? I'm running Forceful, which is a more stagger and DR orientated keystone, right? I think the reason I'm running this is it gives me a little bit more access to intentional damage with my bolter. For example, I can charge, I can then utilize the strength stacks from the charge from one of my subnodes and use that to absolutely atomize any kind of boss or something like that, right?
Access Ascender D16 to reach the streets. You are deputies all. Remember that.
There's so much purple here, Jesus. Reaper. Alright guys, I'm just going to pause, just going to pause here for 1 second. Just to explain this start bit, right? So guys, a couple of things to be aware of. Firstly, we have a boss trigger, which is ahead of us. So a potential boss trigger, you come through this little pipe tunnel here, where this mob is, just where my cursor is. You go through there and on the left. Because it's a rituals map, we do need to be aware that there is a immediate close ritual spawn that could happen, which is in the same place. So you come through here, you look left, and a ritual could spawn there. What it means is that this start section, we kind of want to clear it quite slowly, in that we don't just want to hold W key and aggress, because if that happens, we trigger the ritual to spawn, and obviously then a timer starts ticking and we have to deal with that like sharpish, eh? So what we want to be doing here is honestly just moving together, clearing the start area. What I do want to mention as well is if we lose someone here, the closest respawn point is actually just on my left up here, just round this mound, I'm pretty sure. So if we lose someone, if we back up all the way through the pipe that we came into, so just sit at the very farthest back of the map, we'll get a really nice close respawn. Failing that, the next respawn is essentially it's through this section to the right-hand side and down, right? I mention this because I don't think a lot of people know that you can get a respawn so favorable, so it's definitely something to keep in mind in this section. Top left. So you can see just how atmospheric Inferno makes maps, right? Everything is burning, everything is orange and darker. It's quite cool. One thing I do want to mention in this, because we often end up holding this sort of corner that we're at. You see this pipe here just underneath Affirmative Scab Shotgunner, right? Underneath the mark, just here. That is a firing window for mobs ahead of you. This little window also allows you to see very clearly if a ritual has spawned. So we can see in this instance a rit hasn't spawned, alright? So this area is now just a little bit safer. But just do be aware, guys, if you hold this side or if you're moving through this side, mobs ahead can shoot through this little gap between the pipes, and things like snipers and stuff, they can really make your time quite difficult. So just do be aware, that is a potential risk for you, okay? Just keep an eye on it. And just while we're clearing shit, I'll speak a little bit about my role, the class I'm playing, and the build I'm playing. So I'm as frontline as you get, yeah? My job here is to deal damage, to deliver significant amounts of stagger, basically just to keep flattening shit and keeping them on their ass, okay? We've just had 2 time triggers, and these are 2 weakened Beast of Nurgles. Just as a watch out as well, you see I check behind me. Mobs and specials will spawn through that tunnel that we just came out of. Because we have 2 bosses, we just sort of like hit the brakes. You know, the builds that we're all playing, we have some pretty insane boss damage, so they don't really pose a problem for us, provided we're not caught out of position or we're not surprised, yeah? So just keep the team together and just hose the bosses down as they come.
There's another one. Yeah. Oh, 1 health.
I thought you meant slug rather than burst, sir.
So there's the other Sally. So what I'm doing here, guys, if I just pause. So I charged because charge gives me additional damage. I think it's what, 15% or 20% damage. In addition, because I'm running the Forceful Keystone, there's a subnode. I think it's called Arbites Vigilant. I can't remember the name of it. It's the one that essentially dumps all your Forceful stacks for strength stacks. So on a charge, right? So when I charge, I'm essentially giving myself, I'm self-buffing myself quite significantly. So I charge, I then back up, swap to my bolter, and just fucking hose a boss down, right? This is one of the best monster hunter builds in the game. You'd argue maybe EO is slightly better at it. But Arby, because of the talents that he/she has access to, is a really, really good dealer of unyielding damage.
I don't know, mate. I rarely get.
It's also just mad fun to whip out your bolter and fucking hose down a boss, guys. It is very, very satisfying. I'm one of these people that just loves how the bolter sounds, so any chance I get to absolutely just unload, I fucking will, eh? You can see ahead, guys, we have a wave and we're just pulling what comes. There's quite a few guns ahead, so what I'm doing is essentially just sort of clearing, but we want to be holding this corner, right? Where we stood now, we want to be holding there. As I mentioned last time, use your choke points, use your corners, create choke points for your team, and try and fight together. If you can avoid giving enemy specialists, enemy guns, just clear line of sight on you, like, why wouldn't you, hey? It's just a far safer place to fight. I'm just going to pause here briefly just for this next section. That's quite fucking cinematic. Also, shout out to Loki, the bestest of best boys. So we've cleared the area just behind us, and we're now looking to push into this right section here. So we want to push to the right because it has lots of cover to all the guns and all the shit that lines the walkways to our left, okay? Now, this often is an absolute hellscape of gunners, specials, all that kind of good stuff. So if we approach this, we don't really want to be standing here and taking a firefight and pulling everything now. We want to make sure we position ourselves into safety and then advance and then deal with this horde of shit. All right? I do need to be aware here. I've pushed into the room. I need to make sure my team are able to follow. And they have, so all good.
Oh, I'm gonna get crunched. The music.
Yeah, I mentioned at the start just very briefly about my role, but you can see essentially the way I'm playing here is I'm trying to be a space creator and an opportunity creator for my team in melee. I want to be staggering absolutely everything that I see. I want to be dishing out CC wherever I can. And if my teammates are in trouble, I have a very low cooldown dash ability that can again stagger mobs, right? So if I see a teammate about to get hit by an overhead and I have charge, you bet your ass I'll be charging that mob off them, right? That's how I want to be utilizing my skills. In addition, I have access to the secondary action on the shield, which deals an AoE stun. Now, I'm not a big user of that. I'll only use it when we're under pressure and I need to create space. But I also have access to my dog bomb, right? So Loki can be weaponized into a little dog nado. I just need to be conscious of where he's positioned to maximize the value from that. Alright. Oh, it's hard to see on fucking Inferno, guys. Let me just pause here. So this next section here, so it's just a big long tunnel, and then there's some stairs up that then lead round, and that's how we progress the map. We don't want to be lingering on this walkway. right? So what happens if we stay up here is, firstly, the mobs ahead of us can obviously shoot the living shit out of us, but secondly, we can get pinched. And if a bomber, and bear in mind, guys, it's Inferno, so we're expecting lots of flamers, lots of firebombers, essentially lots of area denial, yeah? So where we're positioned, especially on maps like this, is incredibly important. So we don't want to be lingering on an area we can't escape from that's narrow, that could get choked off with fire, or all that kind of nasty stuff, right? So we want to get down from this walkway, but you can see we have lots of Reapers ahead of us, so we need to basically get in their faces, right? Let's all drop, move together, and start clearing this shit.
Oh.
What the living crap was that? Hey guys, I have a fair few hours in this game, and I've never seen that before. That's funny. Just because of our composition as well, guys, we have a bit more safety than we normally would in the comps that I run. Because Zarky's running smoke grenades, he adds a significant amount of range pressure relief for us, which is fantastic. It means that we can position more aggressively. It means we can push into areas that normally we wouldn't push into, like we try and clear the shooters first, just because he adds that level of smoke screen for us. Ooh, that sniper nearly got me. You can see here, guys, I'm using the wall to my left-hand side just to make sure I'm not positioned in line of sight of that sniper, hey?
What is happening back here? What the fuck?
Now, RB is one of these classes that's just beautifully simple, and there's a saying in the UK of it does what it says on the tin. RB is exactly that, especially the way I choose to play him. If you want someone to bruise, to front line, to stagger the living shit out of stuff, RB is your man.
What fun.
So I didn't cover it when we dropped down, but we have a boss trigger which we just tramped through. So it's about 3/4 of the way up, / by the stairs here. So whenever we deal with this sort of area, we want to clear it. We then push forward, we hit the trigger, and then we start doing a fighting retreat backwards, okay? The entire time we're pulling back slightly, we are dishing out damage. This is when Soul Blaze is ticking, this is when Guns is shooting, and we are smashing the living crap out of all the mobs that are chasing us, alright? But we do need to be aware that just the nature of this tunnel, we are in a dead end, eh? We're in a choke point. This is where classes which front line, so your Oggies, your Arbites, your Zeals, that sort of stuff, and also your Skitaris to an extent, they need to be putting out some safety, some stagger, some CC, just to buy your team time enough to clear.
Mate, so nice to let Loki get a run around.
I will also mention, guys, if I just turn around, I'll just pause here very briefly. So as I mentioned, the boss trigger is probably around about where Gallus stood here, / just a little bit further, right? So there's your boss trigger. So as I mentioned, we clear the tunnel, we trip the trigger, we deal with what comes, and then we advance. However, it's also worth noting that, well, two things I want to call out. Number one is your next respawn point. So if someone dies, this is where they appear. It's just up these stairs and on the right. So if we lose anyone, we want to back down this tunnel to guarantee that we spawn them here. If we don't get them there, guys, the next respawn point is upstairs. Okay, so we'd have to clear this entire area and the entire top section to get our fallen brother or sister up, right? So it's dead important that we go into the next section, which is quite spicy, with as many people alive as we possibly can. And additionally, I want to mention, because it's a Heinous Rituals map, this next section can be quite spicy, yeah? In combination with Inferno, which means that we have more flamer mobs, and firebombers, fireballers to deal with. We just have lots of potential area denial. And this entire section, guys, this tunnel, the area that we're about to push into, and the drop down, it's all quite narrow, right? And the areas with cover tend to be where you huddle together and there's not a lot of space to move. This is literally open season for a firebomber. So we just need to be dead careful. We need to be ready to reposition if we get hit with those sorts of DPS specials, okay? I'll let the game play and sort of call out some potential Rit spawns ahead.
Can you be trusted with that, mate?
Okay, so where we are now, you may have seen that wasn't... So a ritual has just spawned. You can see the green glow. Inferno, guys, makes it actually quite hard to get clear line of sight ahead, but it is what it is, right? So as you walk out of the mouth of this tunnel here, that is like the proximity trigger to cause some rituals to spawn. And you can get double stacked writs here. And I don't mean double stacked on top of each other. I mean 2 separate ritual spawn points right here. So essentially the way we progress this part, guys, we go to the right, up the stairs. We try and pull and clear what's ahead of us, and then we just drop down, right? There's a writ that's at the far end, but you can also get a writ that spawns real close. So now as you go up, you'll see these dead clearly. But we just need to be aware that when we want to push and drop, we need to push with intention, because there could be 2 rituals that have spawned here that we'll then need to take out quite quickly. In addition, if you're playing a ranged character, when you see rituals here, don't shoot them, right? If you shoot it, it will trigger, and Denise will start getting very, very angry very quickly. We want to avoid that. We want to take these out intentionally when we're ready and prepared, not be surprised by, oh shit, I've shot a ritual, you know, panic.
There's a right ahead, far side.
So you can see the ritual really clearly here. And look, depending what's ahead, I'm just going to... shall I? Yeah, I will. I'm just going to pause very briefly here just to explain this next section. So essentially, you can see the writ very clearly. I should have waited for this moment to explain the last bit. But you can also get another one that spawns right here, right? So potentially 2 rituals. In this instance, we only have 1. Now, this area that we're currently in here, this is where we tend to like to hold, because we use this pillar and these boxes, this one here, as potential cover from the range that spawns from the left-hand side. Now, again, guys, because we have Zark running smoke nades, we're not so limited in where we can fight, yeah? Like, if you fight out here, guys, I tell you now, you will get shot to absolute shit. I mean, definitely, you can do it, and we've done it many times. It will work. However, if we had to pick an area to hold, we'll choose this. Because these boxes essentially act as a little choke point. We then have cover from range, as I mentioned, and this is one of the safer zones. However, it's Inferno, which means that at the drop of a hat, we need to be ready to reposition, because one firebomb lands here, we're fucked. We have to scarper. You know what I mean, right? So it's one of these things where positioning and moving together and sort of like reacting to a dynamic combat situation is even more important in these sorts of modifiers.
Go in.
Yeah, I agree. Let's go.
Just go.
But you can see the area ahead of us is quite clear, so what we want to do is just push forward, take the ritual out. Oh, it's a double stacked, okay. So this is, it has to be a bug, guys. There's no way Fat Shark intended for 2 rituals to spawn right on top of each other. But unfortunately, that's the world we live in, right? So we've taken the double stack writ out. We're just clearing the shit that comes with it. And then we can look ahead and think about next steps. Alright, I'm just going to pause when it's a little bit clearer. So guys, what we have here, so I mentioned the whole point that we'd like to pick is behind us. What we have ahead of us, we have the med station here. And we have a boss trigger, basically at the bottom of these stairs. You get to the bottom of these stairs, a couple of steps forward, and we'll trigger a potential boss. And for some reason, Oubliette loves sending 2 bosses at you in this moment, so just do be prepared. So just looking at our health state here, no one's on 1 wound, and we also have a med stim just in case stuff goes south really, really fast. If we were limping, so let's say, you know, 2 of us were on 1 wound, what we might choose to do here is try and rush the med station, grab healing, triggering the boss, and then pulling back to deal with it, right? But because we're in quite a healthy space, we don't really need to do this. So the move here is just to push forward, clear what's ahead, trip the trigger, and pull back to more favourable ground. Guys, if you push forward to the med station here and you try and hold this section, this entire walkway that's ahead of me, so you see these stairs going up, that is often lined with gunners. All right, and if it's not lined with gunners now, they can certainly spawn in and ruin your day. If you hold here, they will just aim down at you and just fucking shoot you, right? They will fill you with holes and you'll look like a Swiss cheese. It's not a good place to fight. Okay, this is why we trip the trigger, we choose to pull back to this upper bit, just because we have far more cover.
Yes, snipe where we came in, left side. Oh! Plasma. Try and touch the trigger.
And there's the trigger. It's just one captain, so much safer than normal, which is nice. We pull back slightly just so we have a bit more cover between us and the shooters, but I see behind us a horde spawning in, so the first thing I do is go over there and deal with it, right? And again, we talked at the start about how firebombers can absolutely ruin your hull points. There's a good example, yeah?
Here, Reaper, don't see you. Oh, right here. In the middle.
Old Danny boy. I don't quite get why some of these guys are called like Hemophage, the blood cunt, and all that kind of stuff, you know, Fragus the afflicted, and we just have old Danny boy here. Is he not done enough to earn a nice moniker? I don't understand. But either way, Danny boy, he's a club boy, and you can see just how quickly, with a Skitari with Claw in the pie, we can just tear the bosses to pieces, yeah?
Is that a double swipe for a guy?
Yeah. Behind.
Yeah, crush
So the call from Zark regarding behind, so there's a horde plus armor. Everyone just needs to stay together, just cover the backs of your brothers and sisters. There's a lot of armor here, so as an army you can see me just start layering CC. So I pop my shield stun, I pop dog bomb, and if I had charge ready, I would have charged straight into the meat of that. When you play RB, guys, think of yourself as a damage dealer and a space creator, right? How can I best use my abilities to create space and relieve pressure off my teammates in those intense moments? And the entire time I'm doing all this, I'm wailing on everything around me.
But that's what they changed about it.
Honestly, one of my favorite classes in the game. It's just so much fun to play. We had another boss trigger here, which while I was yapping, I sort of missed. This is a Plague Ogre. The only thing we need to be careful of here is getting ledged. He's not very dangerous, to be honest with you guys. Especially when we're ready, prepared, and not really under pressure. We can just absolutely rinse him down, which we did. We just want to be aware that the back of this section we're holding, and to the sides, left and right, there aren't any railings, yeah? So a Plague Ogre with large AoE knockback effects, he can really send you flying into the void. We just want to avoid that. Ooh. Just to watch out for that section, guys, on the stairs. Just pop the barrels before you get there, right? Otherwise, little things like that can happen, and someone goes for a swim in the void, which is not fun. That's a one-way ticket.
On the way up. We have 2 charges behind us. Whoa.
I'll save it for now.
Yeah, I'll do the same. Read
So I'm just going to pause for this section. Just worth noting, we're always thinking about what resources we are currently carrying, but also that we have access to in like close proximity. So Zark and I haven't needed to use our healing. We only have a small amount of chip damage to us. So we know there's 2 charges left on the med station. So if shit turns sour quite quickly, we know we have access to that. Additionally, just thinking about the next section, I will talk about this section as well. But thinking about the next section, so how we progress this map is we do this small event where we push a button and we just hold ground, right? We just have to hold this space. Once that's done, we can go through this door. So where this like little... looks a bit like a fucking UFC ring, I'll be honest, from here. But either way, some stairs come down, we go through, we go up. There's another med station ahead. So we just know that we have quite a large margin for error, for chip damage, for, you know, all that kind of good stuff, eh? So we're not too concerned about resources, but just thinking about this section here then, guys. So first and foremost, we have to clear the room. You can see there's some pretty mean-looking elites sitting here waiting for us, including some purple, so garden buffed mobs, which will be pumping out healing around them. We hit this button, we hit a button just by the octagon here, and essentially what we'll do is we'll hold this area. Now mobs will keep flooding from where we've just come up, so they'll drop down where we are and run at us, and they'll also spawn from either side, right? So we tend to hold this section here. Either one works, but we tend to hold the back, we fight together, and essentially we just clear the hordes of chaos.
These boys, Reapers. Oh, it's scary.
But just in that instance there, guys, I charged forward, I saw an absolute fucking stack of gunners and Reapers. Rather than just continuing a dive into the teeth of the guns with there was no smoke down at the time, I pulled back a bit, sent the dog, and used the dog bomb to stagger to allow me to push forward, right? What I don't want to be doing is rushing forward into a firing squad and just getting rinsed down for no reason, you know?
That's a very strong chance.
I think just a little tip I'll give to some Arby players who play Break the Line. Your dash is not that far a distance, right? You don't cover that much ground with Break the Line, but it's a fantastic CC tool. It also, if I'm not mistaken, regens some stamina for you, which is fucking amazing, right? So do be aware of that. But it's not, as it doesn't cover that much ground, just because I charge doesn't mean I have to hold W key on the back of it. You'll often see me use charge just for the damage buff, yeah? So if I charge damage buff, I can then use my bolter to clear some crap, provided obviously I have the bullets and the resources to do so. What I'm saying is it's a bit more of a dynamic ability than just, you know, throw yourself at enemies. You can use it for the self buff and use that to then take out enemies.
Yeah, it's too hot here.
How hot is it, mate?
Close to 30s.
Oh, gotta watch out, snipe.
So this instance, guys, Gala just had to go AFK to use the loot, so we just sort of tread water a little bit. We didn't start the event because it will trigger some endless hordes while the event's going on, but now we're ready. Let's get
No
going.
wipes were used that day.
No. One either.
One?
No, none.
Okay, so event started. And what we tend to like doing, you can see where Sherm and Gala are now is where we tend to like to hold. However, because the mobs, and a significant proportion of mobs, if I just pause here, a significant proportion of the mobs at the very start of the event will drop down from this section and they'll essentially flood this area here. What we tend to like to do, or at least a couple of us do, is just push forward so we can clear them much more easily. So if a load of gunners are here and we're just sitting all the way back here, it means that we can potentially eat a lot of gunfire. Just while we have the window before mobs start spawning left and right, we tend to try and push forward and just sort of deal as much damage, clear as much out as we possibly can before the event proper starts, right?
Have you seen
Getting out of hand.
The movie Matilda, have you seen it, Galahad?
Nope, I have not.
Mate, it's one of the greatest of all time.
Also just speaking a little bit about the Arby stuff while I'm doing it. So Arby has access to a talent that gives me, I think it's 75% additional cleave on a push. Part of the reason I like to take the Shock Maul and Shield Mark 6 is because the push attack is a lovely sweep. So I weave this in as part of my combo. So you'll see me do a push attack, and then I think it's a heavy... Is it a heavy light? I forget the actual combo, right? Guys, it's one of these things that my hands will do it, but my brain isn't really involved, right? But yeah. So I'll do a push attack to trigger the cleave talent. I'll then do a heavy, which is a sweeping shield strike, and then a light attack, which is a sweeping mace strike the other way, right? What I'm trying to do is activate that cleave just to help me clear through the trash much more easily. So you can see a bunch of elites pushing forward. I mean, that was a really good example of how to buy... Maybe if I go back very slightly. Where are we? 1646. So I just go to here. So you can see, guys, a bunch of elites have spawned in, right? Now, rather than wait for them to hit my team, and I don't have break the line up, what I've done here is I popped my shield stun and then layered on a dog mine just to stop him. So, I mean, what's that? 5-6 maulers plus the trash that was just stopped for a couple of seconds. That is huge in allowing my team to reposition if they need, but also to stack damage and clear the wave much faster. It's those little moments when you're playing a frontliner that mean the absolute world of difference to your team and how much pressure they face from melee elites. Oh, ouchies. That's a bit unlucky.
Boys, I'm tempted to use the med below. There's ammo here.
Oh my days, I'm getting absolutely rinsed here. But again, guys, I mentioned at the start, we saved 2 charges on the meds. I've taken a lot of damage for no damn reason. I may as well use it and heal up. I take it back, 3 charges on the meds.
There's a Reaper behind.
And Gallows also just copped a face full of lead from a Reaper. But what this allows us to do is because we stored and reserved the meds for the event, we can heal up and move forward in the best possible state that we can.
He's like a, you know that gif?
Oh, he died.
Not ideal.
Sniper in the
Not ideal. But it is what it is, right? We have a med station ahead of us. We have a charge behind, but fucking hell, that's a long walk, right? But we know we have a med station ahead, so Sherm can just use that and heal up. But again, guys, a reminder, you get isolated, you lose focus, you just get slapped in Havoc 40s, eh? The mobs deal so much damage that it doesn't take much to whittle you down if you're not currently not paying attention or, you're just unlucky.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff behind it.
Alright, I will pause here just when I have line of sight. So guys, I say again, Inferno, because of the atmospheric nature of the particles and stuff like that, it makes it very hard to talk about the next steps because, let's be honest now, you can't fucking see them. Everything's just orange and foggy. But I'll do my best here. So this is the section where we have a med station behind us, which has just used and healed up. I don't think I saw how many charges we had left, but if there are more, obviously we can use those before we advance. This section ahead, we essentially have 2 walkways. We have one on the right-hand side, one on the left-hand side. And the way we progress the map is forward and to the left, right? We can access that either left or we can access it from the right-hand side. However, this area ahead of us, because A, it's Inferno, we can't see very well, and B, it's just always absolutely stacked full of gunners, reapers, all the people with bad intentions that want to ruin your run, right? The way that we like to deal with this is we want to pull as much as we can from the area ahead, just so we can clear it in some safety. And also don't forget, guys, if there is healing on the med station behind us, we have access to that. So why not kill what's ahead of us when we also have that comfort blanket of, look, if someone takes some chip, if someone goes down, we have the med station behind us. This is why I want to pull everything ahead of us, and then the way we like to, as a group, move forward and progress this area. Look at this fucker here, taking a nap. We like to drop down through the hole in the floor to my right-hand side, which takes us underneath and gives us access to this left-hand path, right? The reason we want to do that is because it just gives us significantly more cover. If we were to clear what's ahead of us and just drop down, it's a quicker way to progress, but if stuff spawns in, we're pretty exposed here, all right? So again, sorry, I ramble. We want to clear what's ahead, pull what's ahead, heal up if we need to, drop to the right-hand side because it's the route with the most cover.
A lot of shotties ahead, Fleming.
That's the arc grenade.
Snipes as well. Left side.
Yeah, 1 charge on the med. Case in point. Sham's unfortunately gone down. Guys, I just want to say on my dearest brother Keg's behalf, I'm pretty sure he had poisoned himself quite horrendously the night before. So the poor man is fine for his life, right? So this is not peak Keg. Although maybe this is more Keg in his natural state, I don't know. Either way, we had a boss trigger. This is not a defined location trigger on the map. It's just the AI director can sometimes spawn monsters at you. It just happens, right? So we dealt with him. We used the healing. We dropped down left, as I mentioned before. You see how much cover we have here, yeah? this is our preferred way to progress. Especially on an Inferno map, where if you're up on these fucking walkways, one firebomb is enough to absolutely fuck up the entire team, right? Let's try and mitigate that with positioning and pathing as much as we can.
It's more shite exactly up there.
Remember, guys, we don't push left.
Bomber behind.
Now guys, I also do want to mention, because it's a Heinous Rituals map, we are thinking of a couple of things here, and when that smoke ahead of us clears, I'll probably talk about it in a bit more detail. But you can see we're trying to use this doorway, this room, as a choke point, pulling everything that's ahead and trying to clear as much as we can in relative safety. We do need to be aware if we hold this room though that there's a spawn door behind us, so just someone's need to keep checking our 6 just to make sure we don't get clapped.
Oh, he threw another one. Mez, on you. Which place? Oh.
Alright.
Left again?
Yeah, left.
Can I turn around? Here we go. Right, perfect. Guys, the way this next route works, as you can see here, so I stepped forward just a little bit too far, partly driven by the fact that they threw a bunch of fireballs at me, which is not very kind, not very neighbourly. But either way, I pushed a bit too far and I tripped a Heinous Rituals spawn. Okay, so if you go just about halfway up here, you'll essentially trigger, if there are any, Heinous Rituals to spawn. And because it's tripped so close, guys, we probably know it's in the room to our left-hand side. Now, when we talk about Heinous Rituals maps, and you speak to anyone who plays higher Havocs with any kind of regularity, you'll hear people talk about bugged writs. And what they mean specifically by that is that rituals should trigger based on proximity. You get a certain distance away, or you kill enough mobs like directly around it, or you shoot it, and Denise starts getting really, really aggro. However, because of some assumedly spaghetti coding by Fat Shark, some rituals just decide to fucking trip, and they'll act as if you're next to them or have shot them when you're nowhere fucking close, right? It's really frustrating, but it's just one of those janky things that adds a bit of a knowledge check or a bit of a pacing check to one of these missions. That's the only way you can view it without getting mad frustrated, right? Now, the reason I mention this is if we can avoid it on a Rits map, we want to avoid going left side. Because if you step into this room, so if you go forward where this sort of firebomber is here, there's a route to the left with some boxes that you can loot. If you step forward into the room ahead of you, right, you can often trigger the bugged writs that happen ahead. But because this one has tripped here, we probably know, and I'm pretty certain it's in the room ahead, right? So what this does is it forces us to take the pathing of the bugged writs. So when we're thinking of this, we're thinking not just that we need to go forward and clear left, we're thinking if we go into that room, two things can happen. One, for some reason, twins love spawning in that fucking room, right? So if you go into that room, not only can you trigger a bugged writ, which is the second point, but also you can trigger twins, yeah? Can be quite difficult, guys. This is like crunch time on this map when it comes down to rituals. So we just need to be clear. We need to be like considered. And if we need to push, guys, we need to push together and push hard. The problem with pushing that room, though, is let's say we have a bugged writ spawn. Let's say there's lots of pressure there and we can't advance, yeah? Where do we go? If we have to fight a demon host and let's say another boss spawns or twins spawn, where do we fight? Now, it's really difficult to fight with any kind of safety on these walkways because firebombers can fucking have your ass off. But also, they're mad narrow, eh? They're super mad narrow. It's really, really easy to get fragmented and split up. So if we were to trigger a bugged writ and we had to pick ground to fight, we'd probably pick this room that's back here. Yes, it's quite a far way back, but it's probably the safest ground to fight on. So I know that's a lot of talking, guys, but in this section, there's lots to think about, especially when it's on a rituals map. I'm just trying to share some of that info with you.
Reapers right sides. Yep.
Smoke's going down.
We have a smoke, guys, just back.
All right, so we have a time trigger for a chaos spawn, so a weak Keith. He's behind us, right? So The ritual isn't actively going yet, so it's still moving quite slowly. We want to isolate the threats, as I think I've talked about in the past. We want to deal with the spawn first, and then we want to take out the ritual, because the Rit could come with a whole bag of shit with it.
Reaper's right side, lots of guns. Sniper right as well.
Also just want to call out one thing. You notice like this section, like before we were laughing and joking, and look, we're still having fun in this game, right? Because we know this is a bit of a crunch point. Notice how much clearer and more concise and tighter the comms get.
Opposite side.
You know, it's one of these things I think I talked about in a previous rendition of this, but keep your comms clear, make sure you can communicate and speak to each other and coordinate, yeah? Especially, most important, when shit gets rough.
Sorry.
Fucking hell, Galahad. This man is an absolute liability when it comes to barrels. He is just... I think they whisper to him like the fucking Green Goblin mask. It's truly quite something.
It's right there. Dogs on it, I don't know why.
Alright, when I turn around, I just want to speak about the next area, and then... Still facing the wrong way, turn around. Come on, mate. Yikers. Alright, so... The ritual was right here. Okay, so on the left side before we go into the room. Now that's kind of fucking perfect, yeah? That ritual could have spawned either right here or it could have spawned in the room on the left-hand side. Like I mentioned, if we're able to, guys, we want to avoid pathing into this room because it, on a rituals map, it has the potential to spawn a lot of stuff, and this is often where stuff can go wrong, right? So we want to try and mitigate that as much as we can. In a perfect world, we'd pass through this door, the red door, on the right-hand side at the end of the room. The reason we like taking this side is, firstly, it's a decent choke point, it has lots of cover, and if we need to, we can just back out down these corridors. But what it seems to do is it seems to mitigate or negate that bugged ritual trigger. Going into this room on the left-hand side, it has loot in it, we'd like to go and loot up the room, but for some reason, it just seems to be real fucky when it comes to writs. So if we can, we want to go right side and push down that way, because it doesn't seem to trigger the ritual the bugged ritual that's ahead. However, proximity-wise, because this is spawned here, this could also be in the room on the left, or it could be ahead. We don't know. We need to find out, so we need to do a bit of recon here and work out what our next step is.
Inside the room.
Is it? Alright, hit the room.
Alright, it's in the room on the left, so we have to engage with this section. But you can see we're actively trying to avoid it, right? Sometimes the game just says no.
Just worried about like a twins trigger or something. We're lucky so far.
So we loot up this room. We're actually quite lucky, guys, because the bug writs that's ahead, if it was going to be there, if it was going to trigger, it would already have triggered, okay? So we can just maintain left side and just push ahead as normal. Now, one thing I do want to mention as well, playing RB on a garden map, is you need to be aware that certain mobs, the garden blessed or cursed mobs, are going to be really stagger resistant. Oh, shitting out. You see how dangerous these firebombers are in these tight quarters. Yeah, so the reason I mention that is, look, if you're living in the front line and you assume you get used to your stagger values on your attacks, like from the shield, from break the line, from whatever, and suddenly you do that and the crusher that's winding up an overhead and showing you his armpits doesn't get staggered, you're going to get squished. You need to be aware of that, guys. The stagger resistance is one of the real spikes in difficulty that the modifier brings. It's not just the healing. I'd argue the stagger resistance is just as impactful as the healing the mobs can put out. I think it's worth bearing in mind for anyone who's played Vermintide 2 to any like higher difficulty. I will pause here just while I ramble. I pause here just because I can talk about the area ahead and I see a ritual has spawned. But yeah, if anyone here has played Vermintide 2 in higher difficulties, so like what are they called now? What, like kata and modded difficulties and stuff like that. One of the main levers that, you know, modders and the game can pull to drive and increase difficulty is enemy stagger values, because it adds so much safety in combat when you're able to consistently stagger mobs, right? It's one of the big ones, especially if you play melee classes, which in Vermintide 2, let's be real now, everyone was a melee class. So yeah, the reason I mention this is, look, you're playing RB, you get real used to the stagger you can dish out. Suddenly that doesn't happen anymore. Try not to eat an overhead. Just be aware that that's a possibility. Fucking hell. Boys and girls, I ramble, don't I? Anyway, we move on. So this next section then, we have a med station ahead of us with 2 charges. And you can see here that we have a ritual that's just spawned ahead. Now, where I'm stood now, this left bit is where we tend to like to hold as a team, but do be aware that it is a dead end. But what it does, it gives us cover from what's ahead. And bear in mind that mobs can spawn from forward, they can spawn from behind, but also from behind me, where I said the dead end was, mobs can spawn from that little room as well. So just be aware that, you know, you can get pincered here. It's sort of picking the ground that's the lesser of 2 evils, or 3 evils, if you will. Now we have a writ that's ahead. It's triggered slowly. And just thinking about the next section, we have a boss spawn, a boss trigger, as we go through this doorway on the ahead, where this mauler has sort of just appeared, this glowing red guy. That's our next boss trigger. In addition, because I think it's useful information, our next respawn point is basically where I'm stood now. So if we lose someone and they die, they will appear here if we back up enough, okay? So this entire section ahead of us, guys, if we lose anyone, what I want the team to be doing is to literally turning around and fucking holding W key. We need to get back through the tunnel into that room that I fucking rabbited on about, saying that, you know, this is where the bugged writs spawn, all that kind of stuff, and they fucking didn't spawn. But anyway, we move on, right? And we want to get back into that room, and really as far back as we can, just to guarantee the spawn, the respawn here, okay? But thinking about what happens next then, guys. So just looking at our health state, Gala is on 1 wound. We have 2 on the med station. We just want to clear. So Uzaki's thrown a smoke nade down. Just pull what's ahead of us, try and isolate the threats, clear the ambient mob so we can approach the ritual. Gala can then take some healing, we can deal with the writ, and then we can deal with the boss trigger.
Using it right? Or...
Yeah, forward right. Some maulers and snipers ahead.
Oh, fuck.
Where is this? I swear he was behind.
Yeah.
What's
There
behind?
it is, yeah.
I swear I saw a plasma gunner behind.
This belt maybe.
Maybe.
Alright, pushing right.
One thing I really love about the Mark 6 shield is just how the single target combo feels. It's almost like, so the single target combo, for those unfamiliar, I mean, your best start is a light, but I often start it with a heavy, so I normally go, is it heavy? The second heavy is a strike down, and once you see that mace coming like a strike down, so like a an overhead hits, you can start spamming lights until the next strike down, in which case you can then loop the next heavy. The attacks sort of like whistle out almost like a fucking martial artist. It just feels so satisfying to use. Big fan of this weapon. I get the question quite a lot on YouTube and stuff like that about, you know, what's the army's best weapon and stuff like this. Let me just start by saying, guys, the best weapon, there is often an objectively best weapon, but look, you play this game for fun, people, or at least the very least I do, yeah? I've got too many hours in this game to not play it if I didn't enjoy it. I play the weapons that feel the best to me. As long as the weapon is serviceable and isn't absolutely dog shit. I'm looking at you, the Cork Knife Mark 6.
Oh yeah, what the fuck?
It makes me so sad to stay at that weapon, but as long as it's not dog shit and I enjoy using it, you bet your ass I'll use it, right? You will find a way to make it work. This game, one of the beauties of Darktide and Vermintide 2 is, look, gear and builds will get you so far, yeah? But it's your skill, your knowledge, your ability to react, to think, and to make decisions under pressure that will carry you through the mountain that is the Havoc grind, yeah? I seriously believe that. Anyway, I fucking digress. I love this weapon on the RB. However, undoubtedly, RB's strongest weapon is the RB Shock Maul. It is just so fucking overtuned into everything. It's like your do-it-all weapon. But I just find it quite boring to use, so I use this one. Sorry, so while I was fucking ranting on my soapbox, we pushed through the doorway. There was no boss trigger, so we're just advancing. Just notice though, Zark is watching our 6. We have shotties, we have quite a large wave behind us. So we just want to sort of hit the brakes a little bit. We want to make sure we deal with what's behind, just so we're clear to move forward. And again, guys, I fucking will say it until I'm blue in the face. Look how we're using the corners to create choke points, to try and clear with more safety, but also to increase our cleave, because we're funneling the mobs into that area, right? Because they're funneled, we can hit more of them at one time.
There is one.
Alright, that's a trigger, people. So I was talking out my arse when I said there was no trigger before. The trigger was just a bit further ahead, and it's through the door. So we've had a Packmaster. However, guys, because of the nature of Packmasters, they are unlike other bosses, and they don't come roaring and running straight at you. So we might need to go and find the Packmaster. Unfortunately, because of a nade that either wasn't comms or I didn't listen, I just fucking ate a burster to the face. And I remember that we still have charges on the Medico station. Gallo used one, there should be one left. And with the Packmaster, guys, he's one of the easier bosses. In fact, I'd argue that he's probably... Is he the easiest? No, he's just one of the easier bosses, but the debuff that he can bring with his cattle prod makes him, in the wrong situation, one of the harder bosses. He's also quite fucking tanky, like really tanky. So yeah, just do be aware. He's a boss that we want to make sure we fight when we have room to maneuver and room to dodge about. But because the bath is coded weirdly and inconsistently with the other monsters in this game, we have to go and find him.
Sniper stairs.
Is this just like from like coding for expeditions or something?
Might be.
I will say though, guys, so look, what I'm trying to do here is hold the healing. Notice I'm on 2 wounds still, right? So if I go down, I still have one wound, provided I can be recovered. What I was trying to do is deal with the boss before using the healing, but we don't know how far away this fucking melon is, right? He could be really far ahead, so I'm just going to go and use it just so we're not constantly backtracking to collect this healing.
Oh, yeah. There's something moving there. More
Some of
dogs.
those dogs.
Shooting their shot.
Oh, shit.
Did you see the amount of dogs
That was
in the
awful.
dark?
Oh no, why?
Yikes. So, something happened there, guys, and 2 people ate a burster shot. Let's drop the healing. We have a boss come in, so let's just be safe about this, eh?
I don't know. I shot something and a bunch of dogs like jumping in the dark. The cat actually spotted. I didn't see it.
You can see we're sort of pussyfooting around, just trying to work out where this guy is so we can pull him towards us.
Shot something.
Just for context, people, the area ahead of us is quite a spicy one. So we're ideally trying to deal with him before we have to engage with that section, just because essentially what happens is at the top of these stairs there's just a massive open room ahead of us, and often it's absolutely chock full of mobs. So we finally found Dregus, the absolute... Anyway, we move on. But we've also had a time trigger just because of how much we've been pussyfooting around trying to pull him. At the very least he's here, but we know we need to deal with this guy, and we need to deal with Sally.
Oh, Archies.
Just notice, guys, a fighting retreats. He came with quite a decent amount of armor. We don't want to be holding ground. Just give ground back to the healing that we dropped and just whittle the boss down.
Trappers in the mix.
Sounds it. Bomber headless. She's proper cute anyway.
Double muting.
Wow, that was quite climactic after a long wait. Fucking hell. Man, what an asshole that guy is.
Just talking about target priority. Guys, whenever, doesn't matter the class you play, doesn't matter what weapon you have, if you see a DPS or a disabler special, deal with it. Try and deal with it, right? Unless obviously you have no ammo, in which case you're stuck to melee range. The point being is that bursters and specials of all varieties, so DPS and disablers, need to be the priority for the team. I will also give a special shout out to mutants, and I think I've mentioned this in a previous video. However, mutants are incredibly dangerous. They themselves are not dangerous, however, the disruption that they can cause with the force reposition, holding you in fire, holding you into an overhead, whatever it is, means that the team needs to be focusing down mutants. They are one of the understated high value targets, right? And something that I'll notice if I play in public games is people just let them run around, right? You'll see someone just like sidestep a mutant and then just fucking leave it. And you're like, well, that guy's going to turn around and continue to charge through the team, causing absolute havoc, right? Yeah, please prioritize your mutants, guys. It will make your game so much safer.
Yeah. Fire behind us, go.
Fire, fire, so we need to back up here, right? Thankfully that bomber missed, but you can see just how quickly that turned into a bit of a precarious situation because we had mutants charging us, we had armor ahead, and we had firebombers landing their fireballs at our feet. I think this little example here is sort of, it just highlights just how important it is to pick the ground, right? Because if we're in an open area, these fireballs mean fucking nothing, right? We could just path around them and avoid them. But if you're stuck in a narrow walkway like the stairs are here, it's, yeah, it can end a run. It really, really can.
Compromising and doomed to failure.
Assessment, and one with which I perhaps concur.
I suspect our opinion
sure.
weighs little with her.
Room's clear, just gonna push.
Yeah, the drop might be fucked.
So this next section ahead, guys, essentially there's a big room, there's a path that we could take, you see where it comes out here, around the right hand side. Because the room was already cleared, we just push forward, which is absolutely fine. Alright, we have twins, right? So twins trigger, first thing we do is we try and back up just a little bit, just to give the twins some distance from each other. The melee twin is always going to be the quickest one. She runs at you like a little Naruto ninja with her arms behind her back, right? So she's quick. If we just give a little bit of ground, it means that we don't have to deal with both twins at the same time. We can stack as much damage as we can onto the melee twin. And guys, the melee twin needs to be the one that you prioritize, yeah? She is by far the more dangerous one. But yeah, giving a bit of ground allows us to try and focus her. But notice she came with a bunch of stuff. The team's done the right thing here and just gone to the next best, essentially, hold point ground to fight on, which is this doorway. And now we can absolutely fuck her up. We'll also just take this moment to absolutely glaze smoke grenades. They add so much safety and comfort to your compositions, guys. If you're trying to climb Havocs and you're newer to the game, you're less familiar with the mechanics, all that kind of stuff, highly, highly recommend your vet takes some smoke grenades. You sacrifice personal DPS for a significant amount of ranged pressure relief.
Wow. Nicely done.
And it can make up for positioning errors like basically nothing else can. So guys, just looking at this next section then, so we have a med station to our left, so when we have two charges, as always, we're trying to clear as much of the room as we can, just while we have access to that healing, right? No one needs it now, but if someone eats something, some damage, or eats a fucking, some range fire, or heaven forbid, an overhead, we at the very least have that safety net to use. But the way that we progress the next section is we drop down, and I can, yeah, so, fucking hell, you can't see a thing, can you? If I just pause here. Thank you, Gala. By the way, guys, I will just use this moment to talk about Shriek, just because it's rare unless you record and you go through Darktide footage frame by frame just to find moments like this. You can see just how Shriek actually works, right? So it's a cone, but people sort of assume it's a different shape to how it is, yeah? It's super, is the word elliptical? Either way, it's like a big fucking oval, right? So that will then travel. It won't get bigger in radius, but that will travel And you can see, so when you're using, if you're playing a Shriek Psyker, just notice this is your Shriek area right here, okay? It's super tall, not that wide. So when you use it, be intentional about how you position this, because this is a really clear example, because he's actually shrieked through the smokes, and it's cleared the smoke. So you can see the radius of Shriek really, really clearly. Now, this ability also travels through walls, so use that to your advantage, eh? So, ladies and gents, just thinking about the next area then, what we have ahead of us is a large open room with a bunch of fucking chairs in the middle. Now, we tend to try and avoid the middle bit because it's really bitty and it's uncomfortable to fight in. Now, the way we progress the map is you see this ping, I think it's a sniper, where this maroon ping is anyway. We essentially want to progress through there, to the right, and through a doorway and some stairs, which leads to a room and an elevator, and that's how we move forward. The way we like to approach this is to drop down, to hold the right side, because it gives us a bit of cover from the shooters in the room ahead of us. Now, guys, because it's Inferno, it's fucking mad hard to see. I'm just going to hit play, and obviously just talk about it live as we go through. I didn't think about how difficult Inferno would make actually talking about like the areas ahead, just because the visibility is so shit. So a quick ready check. Provided everyone's ready, we'll drop and we'll push the right side.
I think not anymore.
Let's go.
Alright guys, so we're pushing the right side. Now there is a boss trigger we're expecting here. Now we tend to hold this right side here, but no boss trigger. Okay, so as you push the right side and you get towards the end of it, that's typically where a boss, if it's going to spawn, will trigger. And we tend to hold that right side and deal with the boss there and then. Because we didn't have one, path's clear, we just push forward.
Down behind.
Reaper ahead. Reapers.
I have no smokes at the moment.
Just while we clear this next section, because there's not really much to talk about, there's a lift here, there's some loot we want to take from the back, so just clear the room and move through. And when we talk about, you hear me say boss triggers and all that kind of shit quite a lot, right? But someone asked a question on YouTube that I answered in the comments, but just to share the info for everyone. I mean, like, this is like super obfuscated by Fat Shark. They're not clear about how all these work. So essentially it's trial and error by the community that gets us to an understanding of just how the modifiers in Havoc work. I say modifiers, how the pacing and the triggers in Havoc work. When this door opens, I'm going to pause and finish my thought, guys, and sort of talk about the next area. Okay. So in Havocs, one of the key modifiers that is always active is, depending on your Havoc level, Emperor's Fading Light 1 and Emperor's Fading Light 2. I will again give a massive shout out to a community legend, a guy called Cooley, who's been making Steam guides, which are incredibly informative for Vermintide 2 and also for Darktide. Now, he has a bunch of guides out about classes, talents, in-game mechanics. Highly recommend everyone reads them. But yeah, so in Havoc, as you push through Havoc ranks, essentially you get Emperor's Fading Light 1 and Emperor's Fading Light 2. I'm not going to cover what they do in great detail here because this is not the intention of the video. But what I do want to mention is in Emperor's Fading Light 1 and 2, what essentially happens is that there's some internal metrics within the AI director's like calculations, how he thinks essentially. And he uses something called, I think it's tension or pressure. I think it's tension. Essentially, as you go through a game, as you take damage, you get netted, all the different little minute, like the micro interactions you have with mobs in the game will build up a tension meter or a pressure meter, whatever you want to call it. And that helps dictate how the AI director controls pacing and the spawns, all that kind of shit, right? Either way, I fucking digress. What I want to mention is that there are three main ways that bosses will spawn in your higher Havocs, right? Number one is the map triggers. You know, when I say, for example, this section ahead, right? There's the boss trigger just ahead. So literally where you see that orangey stuff, past the shielded bastards, there is a boss trigger. So that's a clearly defined potential boss trigger, right? So as you walk through that area, and it's not like a exact point on the map, it's in a section, right? It's not an exact science, it's definitely more art. Yeah, as you walk through that, that's a potential map trigger that can trigger 1 or 2 bosses. In addition, the AI director has the ability to just spawn a boss whenever the fuck he feels like, yeah? So sometimes you'll see a boss appear and you're like, oh, what the fuck is this, right? I'm not talking about weakened bosses, I'm talking about full health bosses here. So yeah, the AI director can just go, I cast Chaos Spawn and send a spawn at you, okay? So you have a map trigger, you have a AI director just going, fuck you, sending a boss. You also have weakened bosses, and the way weakened bosses spawn is essentially instead of spawning a specialist, so when I say specialist, I mean you have DPS and disabler specialists, so like snipers and bombers being DPS ones as an example, disablers being like netters and dogs as another example. Instead of spawning one of those fucking bastards, right, he can choose instead to spawn, I say choose, he can have a percentage chance to instead spawn a weakened monstrosity, right? And if you're unlucky, guys, you can get many of these in one go. We've had, what, 2, 3, 4 weakened bosses spawn at any one time, just because we rolled double snake eyes multiple times in the eyes of the AI director. So yeah, 3 main ways, right? AI director just goes, I cast monster, throws one at you. Map trigger can be more than 1, but also weakened bosses can spawn as a percentage chance instead of a specialist. Now, given the current state of Havoc, guys, think how many fucking specialists spawn, right? I say again to the people that know me well, and also to my viewers, give us back our crushes, take away the specialists. Jesus Christ, right? I preferred fighting crushers than wading through gas and fire and all that kind of shit, eh? I may be a minority here, but that's my POV. Yeah, think of how many specialists spawn in a map, eh? You know, it can be quite meaty. So if you are unlucky and your pacing is off, your positioning is off, or you're just fucking unlucky and the AI director just goes, die now, you can have lots of these boss triggers laid on top of each other, right? Now, in addition, there is a chance, and there's usually like locations and maps that are more favorable for him to do this, but there's a chance the AI director just to send twins at you. I think in a mission it's an 80%? Quite high is my point, right? So you'll get twins in more missions than you will not get twins, if that makes sense. Yeah, the AI director can just send the twins at you. So yeah. This is why I think these videos, my intention here is obviously to share some of the knowledge that I have from fucking trial and error people, yeah? I've done a lot of Havoc 40s, and this is an opportunity in a forum for me to share that with you, but also to talk a little bit about the mechanics, just so you better understand that when we talk about positioning and pacing, it's not just because we like doing things a certain way, it's because we have, through trial and error, found that if we don't do it this way, there's a higher chance of us getting clapped. So anyway, fucking hell, I do ramble on, I apologize. Just thinking about the next section ahead, as I mentioned here, the orange bit here, this is where there is a potential boss trigger, so we need to be aware of that. It's either this orange bit or just slightly before it, right? It's not as far as that. But also thinking about respawn points, so you go down this corridor, you then go left, and there's like this small control center room thing. That is where your teammates will respawn if they die. So if we lose someone here, we want to back up towards the airlock, just so we can guarantee that they spawn ahead. Anyway, I will hit play now, and I will try and talk less as we progress through the map. Did you guys see just how effective that arc grenade was? Absolutely ridiculous. Now, when Skitari first released, I thought, yeah, they're alright, you know, they're quite nice. Having seen Sherm hard play this every time he plays Skitari, spoiler, he plays it quite a lot. Yeah, they're fucking strong, guys. They're really, really good. Worth calling out, the boss trigger here was 2, so we had a double. We had a Keith, a full health Chaos Spawn, and we had Nils, the captain, alright? with all these things, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, focus down your monsters, deal with your captains after. Even on garden maps, right? So every single captain on a garden map has a 100% chance to spawn with a garden mod, right? So he will be healing everything around him. I don't care. Deal with the monsters first. They are by far the easiest target to burn down, and arguably far more dangerous because of their AoE nature. So you can see here, guys, we have dealt with the Chaos Spawn. We're now ripping down Nils, and look how much damage Claw does. Absolutely crazy. But what we need to be doing is, look, the team is playing in a really, really good way. We're tight, we're like a little murder ball, and we're covering each other. And when we get area denial landing at our feet, so these fireballs and stuff like that, we're moving back together, you know? It makes me smile to see how well we're playing into these mods.
At times I would just release like double.
Also worth mentioning, we had a weakened boss spawn. I think it was a Beast of Nurgle, I'm not quite sure. But that is as a result of what I just mentioned, right? So instead of spawning a specialist, or instead of spawning like a fucking trapper, oh, it's a plague. It's Petey Boy. Yeah, instead of spawning like a trapper, the AI director's gone, I cast Weak Pete, and has thrown a plague ogre at us. So this next section ahead, guys, we just need to pull what's ahead, clear it, but keep an eye on our back, because mobs will keep dropping through that, in that control room we just cleared and went through. They'll keep dropping through the hole in the ceiling.
Grenades in the boxer.
Oh, you can take off the fall.
Just because it's obviously the primary focus for this run, because it is an Arby run. Guys, I just want to call out my positioning, and whenever I talk about this stuff, it's always my view, yeah? It's the only thing I can speak to. I'm not saying to you this is the only way to do things. I'm saying to you this is how I like to do things, and again, that's based on A, my preference as a player, and B, experience gained from doing stuff differently and then learning from errors, yeah? But whenever I'm playing Arby, guys, I'm not like, oh, Jesus. Right, I'm just gonna pause there. Guys, this room ahead of us can be like we've just experienced there. You can literally peek your head around the corner and just get it absolutely knocked off. Be careful with this section. Use this as cover, because sometimes, especially things like shotgunners, if you're unlucky and they just land all the pellets on you, that's probably you downed. Just how it is, right? It's just how it is. This is also in addition to Zark having smoke grenades. Again, they're not an impenetrable barrier, right? They break line of sight, but if a mob is already aiming and shooting at you, they'll keep shooting at where they think you are, right? Poor Shermie here was either in the wrong place at the wrong time or just held ground a little bit too long. And he has now eaten a face full of lead. All I want to say here, this section, just be careful. Try and be methodical with how you clear it. I've seen runs end in this room. Probably a little bit too many times, to be completely frank with you. What was I saying? So yeah, positioning-wise, as a front liner, guys, this is part of the reason I like Break the Line, because it just sounds fucking meaty and thunky to charge into stuff. And like I say, it speaks to my history as a Foot Knight Kruber. I just fucking love charging at things. It's just, I'll absolutely adore it. However, if I was playing, for example, Castigator Stance, which is an ability I personally don't really enjoy very much, but I see it's super effective, it's super strong. I see lots of people get great mileage out of it. But I'm never really like diving balls to the walls into mobs without my team to back me up. Yeah, my role as a front liner is to deal damage and to deliver stagger. Now, what is the point if I'm a million miles away from my team, right? So whenever I play a front liner, I'm trying to make sure that the value that I add is useful for my teammates. If I'm just staggering stuff down the line, yes, it's useful. Yes, you could argue if I can go through and clear the entire room solo, fucking bonza, it's not a problem for my team. But the way I want to play here is to mitigate risk, yeah? So if I'm in the front lines, I'm also aware of where my teammates are. I'm not just holding W key. There are times to do that and to dive hard, but most of the time it's not appropriate. So what I'm trying to say here is that I want to make sure I deliver stagger to create safety for my team, but I don't just want to be selfishly holding W key and just charging like, you know, like the last samurai into a bunch of guns. And the reason I mentioned abilities is because I see more Castigator stance Arbites do this than break the line. Because it offers you such a high level of DR, just be aware of your positioning. When you're diving, just think to yourself, what is my intention here? And have I gone far enough? Right? That's the only thing I want to mention.
It looks like you try to kill Loki with Arc, mate. I'm not gonna lie. Reapers.
Crypt key updated. You may proceed aboard the elevator.
Alright guys, not too much more to add. We're just looting the room ahead, and then we start the end event. Now with many of the Darktide maps, the end event is often rather limp. In this instance on Oobs, essentially we have an open room, some mobs spawn, we kill one captain who is no harder than the captains we've killed before, and the game ends, right? Yeah, there's not a huge amount to add here, guys. It's just, it's a little anticlimactic, and I hope Fat Shark does something to address it, but it gives us a chance to sort of talk about what we see in this map. So
I just prefer it. I don't know.
Oubliette is one of these maps that can have secret hands, especially on a Ritz modifier, right? It is one of the maps similar to Power Matrix, similar to, I think, Warren or Mercantile. I think it's Mercantile that has consistently bugged Ritz. Now, we were quite lucky in this instance. We dealt with a lot of Ritz, but we didn't have that bugged Ritz spawn, okay? I will make sure at some point in the future to show you that and how we deal or don't deal with that well. Right? You see just how fucking limp this end event is. It's like, blah, whatever, right? When you kill the boss, a bunch of elites spawn either side. If they're shotgunners, beware. If they're not, big whoop, eh? Yeah, generally speaking, guys, this was a good clear. The team played really well together, and we don't always play like this. Just to be clear, you know, we're not fucking robots. It's yeah, it's really nice to see, especially into the risk that something like Inferno brings us, and also the rituals. Just how well we moved and how cohesive we were as a group. Big fan of that. Puts a smile on my face. Now, as per last time, guys, I'll cover the scoreboard very briefly with some closing thoughts, and we can go from there. So we start at the top, as always, with total ammo. So you can see here, most of the ammo went into Zark. He's our vet. That's where it should go, with Sherm and I taking a small amount. Now, in this loadout, in this build, again, shout out to my Discord, because I'll keep all of my core, and I say core in inverted commas, core builds on there, which I try to keep up to date, right? So if you want to see builds and stuff like that, join the Discord, and it's a free-for-all, just have a look. But yeah, so this build, I basically only really use my bolter to pick a few specials here and there, and to hose down bosses, okay? So ammo taken was light, which is fantastic. It's how I personally like to play. Now, deaths and downs, pretty light across the entire team. We did well, no deaths, always lovely to see. Looking at the damage dealt, ignore Gala, because he's a class unto his own as a burn psyker. Playing Inferno staff, I need to qualify that now that I've started playing some trauma staff, Inferno psyker. Not the same thing, guys, not the same power level, okay? Yeah, because he's playing an Inferno burn psyker, just ignore his numbers. It's not representative of what you can do on different classes. Yep, generally speaking, damage dealt was pretty strong. Shout out to Zaki here, who did really fucking well. He didn't go down, didn't die, and he was using smoke grenades into a garden map. That's some pretty fucking good going, right? Yeah, well done, Zaki. Yep, so total damage dealt is pretty strong, pretty consistent. You tend to deal more damage on garden maps because stuff takes longer to kill, stuff heals, you know what I mean, right? We then look at damage dealt into elites. Generally speaking, pretty strong. Sherm was tearing the living shit out of stuff, but Claw arc nades, but he still pumped out some fucking impressive numbers, right? He did more elite damage than our burn psyker. That's notable. That's worth calling out. And then really, I mean, like looking at total specials killed, you can see, generally speaking, we did pretty well. But again, Sherm and I were very light on ammo. And then looking at boss damage, pretty consistent across the team. Poor Zaki here, because he was using smoke nades, unless he suffocates a monster to death. And I think his weapon was, I think he was using a tack axe, right? He's not really pumping out boss damage, but the rest of the team, Monster Hunter, RB, Burn Psyker, and a Claw Skitari, more than make up for that. Like I say, just to close, guys, I hope that was useful. This was quite a long video, to be fair, but I did ramble on longer than I expected. This was a good one. I enjoyed playing this one, I enjoyed watching this back, and I enjoyed doing the VO. And yeah, look, if you find value in this, guys, I do ask, these take quite an investment in time. I've now been recording for 1 hour and 27 minutes. Early morning on a fucking Wednesday. Yeah, if you enjoy it, let me know. Hit the like, all that kind of fucking YouTube stuff. Just so I know that you want me to do more. Take it easy, everyone. All the best.